Research with a beat, quality week, make we dance, we bring the fire. This be the week we never tire. Big quality, deep research, we are all involved. We did jam, oh we did jam. Oh yeah, move to the left, move to the right. We like.
Think you've got what it takes when it comes to safety issues? Come cheer your department on in the biosafety competition. Watch as clinical pathology, immunology are defending champions, and bacteriology battle for the crown. Will immunology hold on to their title, or will a new champ arise? The suspense is real.
We appreciate all sponsors for their generous support in making this year's Quality Week celebration a success. Your commitment to excellence makes all the difference.
Research with a beat, quality week, make we dance, we bring the fire. This be the week we never tire. Big quality, deep research, we are all involved. We did jam, oh we did jam. Oh yeah, move to the left, move to the right. We light up the fight with the jam. Come and quit us, oh. Quality beats, we lose control. The girl with the scat on the floor. Catch the groove and do it slow. Quality week.
Think you've got what it takes when it comes to safety issues? Come cheer your department on in the biosafety competition. Watch as clinical pathology, immunology are defending champions, and bacteriology battle for the crown. Will immunology hold on to their title, or will a new champ arise? The suspense is real.
We appreciate all sponsors for their generous support in making this year's Quality Week celebration a success. Your commitment to excellence makes all the difference.
Research with a beat, quality week, make we dance, we bring the fire. This be the week we never tire. Big quality, big research, we are all involved. We did jam, oh, we did jam. Oh, yeah, move to the left, move to the right. We light up the fight with the jump. Come and we dance, oh. Quality beats, we lose control. We run off the steps on the floor. Catch the groove and go flow. Quality week.
Think you've got what it takes when it comes to safety issues? Come cheer your department on in the biosafety competition. Watch as clinical pathology, immunology are defending champions, and bacteriology battle for the crown. Will immunology hold on to their title, or will a new champ arise? The suspense is real.
We appreciate all sponsors for their generous support in making this year's Quality Week celebration a success. Your commitment to excellence makes all the difference.
Research with a beat, quality week, make we dance, we bring the fire. This be the week we never tire. Big quality, big research, we are all involved. We did jam, oh, we did jam. Oh, yeah, move to the left, move to the right. We light up the fight with the jump. Come and we dance, oh. Quality beats, we lose control. We run off the steps on the floor. Catch the groove and go flow. Quality week.
Think you've got what it takes when it comes to safety issues? Come cheer your department on in the biosafety competition. Watch as clinical pathology, immunology are defending champions, and bacteriology battle for the crown. Will immunology hold on to their title, or will a new champ arise? The suspense is real.
We appreciate all sponsors for their generous support in making this year's Quality Week celebration a success. Your commitment to excellence makes all the difference.
Research with a beat. Quality week, we could dance, we bring the fire. This is the week we never tire. Big quality, big research, we are all involved. We did jam, oh, we did jam. Boy, you move to the left, move to the right. We light up the fire when you jump. Come and we dance, ooh. Quality beats, we lose control. And we just got on the floor. Catch the groove and go slow. Quality week.
Think you've got what it takes when it comes to safety issues? Come cheer your department on in the biosafety competition.
Quality.
Watch as clinical pathology, immunology are defending champions, and bacteriology battle for the crown. Will immunology hold on to their title, or will a new champ arise? The suspense is real.
We appreciate all sponsors for their generous support in making this year's Quality Week celebration a success. Your commitment to excellence makes all the difference.
Research with a beat. Quality week, we could dance, we bring the fire. This is the week we never tire. Big quality, big research, we are all involved. We did jam, oh, we did jam. Boy, you move to the left, move to the right. We light up the fire when you jump. Come make we dance, ooh. Quality beats, we lose control. And we just got on the floor. Catch the groove and go slow. Quality week.
Think you've got what it takes when it comes to safety issues? Come cheer your department in the biosafety competition.
Quality.
Watch as clinical pathology, immunology are defending champions, and bacteriology battle for the crown. Will immunology hold on to their title, or will a new champ arise? The suspense is real.
We appreciate all sponsors for their generous support in making this year's Quality Week celebration a success. Your commitment to excellence makes all the difference.
We never tire. Take quality, deep research. We are all involved. We did jam, oh, we did jam. Boy, I move to the left, move to the right. We like to define when you jump. Come in with us, smooth. Quality beats bring us control. None of us got time to flow. Catch the groove and go slow. Quality we.
Think you've got what it takes when it comes to safety issues? Come cheer your department on in the biosafety competition. Watch as clinical pathology, immunology are defending champions, and bacteriology battle for the crown. Will immunology hold on to their title, or will a new champ arise? The suspense is real.
Hello.
We
Good morning,
appreciate
everyone.
all sponsors for their generous.
You're welcome to today's Safety Day. So, my name is Christopher Nila Eteria Mensa, and I'll be your moderator for today. The quality office thought it prudent that I wear something not only of long-lasting quality, so I'm in a quality shirt of last year, but also something on safety. So they found this for me to don. I hope that's okay. Thank you very much. So clearly, my feet um, to be safe enough is just not enough to explain what today stands for. So to kickstart and to throw more light on what quality means to us as an institute, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Institute Safety Officer, Dr. Charles Quinn.
Thank you, Nilai. They didn't give me anything to wear, so I get to realize I have to plan for safety and they won't keep me safe. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. Oh, please, we are not going to have a lecture here. It's just going to be more of a discussion. And I think the office have put together some videos for discussion. After that, we are going to go out to have some fun on safety. I usually, when they mention Safety Day, I was wondering what we can put together for safety, because safety shouldn't be a day. It's a life. It's something that we should be doing every day. So when they asked for a short presentation before the activities start, it became very confusing for us. But they brought ideas. That's the coordinators, those who are organizing the Quality Week. And somewhere along the line, then it became that I have to talk a bit about this. So please, pardon me, indulge me for the next 20-25 minutes while I just talk a little bit about safety. So, yeah, I named this Biosafety, Biosecurity, Biomedical Labs, Learning from the Past as we Prepare for the Future. It was difficult finding a title, but finally we found one. Learning from the past and preparing for the future. Just as it says, it means that we'll look at things that have happened before and we use it to plan for how we stay safer in the future. Let me bore you a bit with a few definitions. Biosafety being protecting people and the environment from exposure to harmful agents. Biosecurity being prevention of loss, theft, or misuse of the things we work with. And these two are important just because we need to protect ourselves as we work. We need to protect the public, and we also need to protect the environment. Now we live in a One Health system where you protect everything and keep it as safe as possible, even as we continue to do our work. For biosafety and even biosecurity, there have been just some principles that have been with us. And it starts with the issue of containment. We know in Noguchi that we have labs that are labeled BSL-1, there are BSL-2s, and then there's a BSL-3. And these are principles upon which we set our laboratories to keep us safe with what we do in it. So the pathogens that we work on in BSL-1 will be different from 2 and will be different from 3, just based on these engineering controls. Then we also have the issue of risk assessment. Does not make sense for you to think you are safe if you haven't assessed the risk for what you are going to do. These systems have been used in the vehicle manufacturing industries, in the banks when they are giving loans, in insurance companies when they are insuring people, and now it's become very core to our safety too. So rules that we put in, guidelines, policies are not just based on the fact that, I think when I wear this, I'll be safe. It is based on the exact risk and the things that you are putting together to mitigate that risk. Then the design of our facilities also come to play. Fortunately for us, we have one of the best designed facilities in West Africa in true Japanese technology. We have things that people will wish they have. But even if we have it and we don't use them right, they are still not going to make us safe. The design of our facilities are very important. And then the PPEs we use. I think somewhere along the line, when you go out, there will be some things about PPEs. They are the least effective in protecting us, but we cannot do without them because they are personal. They are the things that you can easily control as to exactly how you use them. Then the SOPs for our processes and all the measures we put together for our biosafety, our biosecurity too. It is important to also state that as much as we try to do all the risk assessments to agree on what we have to do to be safe, we also keep on following international guidelines. These guidelines are there to guide us on exactly what to do to be safe. And there are very different kinds. And fortunately for us, we have access to most of it. The safety office with the teams, the health and safety committee, the bio-risk management committee work with these guidelines and bring out these protocols that we all have to follow to make us safe. What can go wrong? In this institute, a lot can go wrong, and that is why we need to keep on talking about safety. Biosafety related incidents, there could be a needle prick, injury, a pathogen could get aerosolized. There could be spillage. Infectious agent can be inhaled. Animal bites or scratches whilst we work. All these things can happen. And these are all risks that we have identified. And therefore, we keep on putting things in place to mitigate them. Then there could be biosecurity breaches, where all of a sudden you open a fridge and you have a pathogen, you cannot find it. Actually, you don't know where it's gone. Maybe you're thinking, so they threw some things out of the fridge or the freezer, therefore they may have thrown it away. Probably that had not been the situation. It is important that we know what we have, we know where they are, and we also make sure that we know when they move and where they move to. Then equipment malfunctions. That also happens. The safety cabinets may malfunction. You're working, all of a sudden you can hear the fan is not blowing. What you do is to stop work and check on what has happened. It is not a matter of let me finish quickly. I know some of us, projects demands, your thesis has to get to the graduate school by next Thursday. All these things may drive you to do things that are beyond what safety can do. But these cabinets are there, or these other equipment are there to keep you safe. So when they are malfunctioning and you keep on working, then you have put yourself at risk. And then there are the issues of our chemicals. A few last week, I think from Friday, we got to remove a lot of the chemicals that are expired from the institute, Friday and Saturday. And it's a great time, because usually when you live with these things, you wonder whether you're supposed to live with them or die with them, because they are dead already, but they are going to bring you closer to where they are. So it was great getting to move these things out. Important how we handle these chemicals. Then electrical issues, fire issues, other hazards that are around, waste issues. Also, you know that this year, one of the places where we stand in, one of the focus areas this year is waste management. And at the management meeting, we made it clear to management that this is what we want to do. And they have assured us of their support to make sure that we get our waste management issues to the best. Then the final part is the issue of emergency preparedness and response failures. They say you can take the horse to the riverside and then it will decide whether it will swim or drink. But then the thing is, we will put things in place to say that we are going to be safe even if something wrong happens. And it's important we all know what to do, because your mistake in responding to an emergency may lead to somebody else's troubles. I think somewhere on Monday during the panel discussion, and even when Professor D'Souza talked to us, and the quality manager also talked to us, there's one part of quality that should never leave us. Being aware of where we are, what we are doing, and why we have to do it right. And it comes the same as safety. Most of the times, as human beings, once we hit the road, we are aware we are on the road. And therefore, we start looking around to see whether there's a motorcycle coming or a car coming or what. When we enter the labs, it is the same. We should get to understand that we are not in the same environment that we usually are. But we are in an environment that has these hazards, and we need to be aware of what is happening around us. I'll be talking about some examples, and some things will come up. Whilst in the lab, it is not about you. It is not about my work. It is not about I'm the one who put this in the freezer. You should care about what other people put into the freezer. You should care about how they put them in the freezer. Because if you open the freezer and something falls out, it will not choose the one who put it in to fall on. It can fall on anybody around. So we should be aware of our environment and make sure that if somebody is doing something wrong, we are able to tell the person that, hey, what you're doing is wrong. And like I mentioned, we keep on setting policies, procedures, protocols, guidelines, And their main functions when it comes to safety is to keep us safe. It is not to make anybody uncomfortable. It is not just to say that, let me do it in a way that when they hear it, they won't come and work. It is just to make sure that we are safe. And safety is core to everything we do. If you are not well, how do you even work? So we'll just talk about some past incidents. And at first, I wanted to stay around and see if we can find incidents around. But I realized that in a yearly symposia, over the years, we have always shown pictures of things that are happening here. So I think it was time for us to broaden the scope a bit, go out and see what has happened over time. So I went into the literature and just looked for incidents that have happened and how they've been reported. So I have a few that I want us to discuss. This is from 1904. So I'm starting from the past century. Somebody was working on material in the lab and ended up being infected. So it's a bacteria infection, and the person was working on organs that are being taken from that infection and ended up being infected. And this is a typical issue of biosafety. Then somebody got popular. So herpes B virus, the B belongs to somebody. He got popular because he worked and got infected and passed. So when you die, you get popular. His name was put on a virus. And this is a typical biosafety situation here. That is not what we will want. That somewhere along the line, something happens and we have to think about saying that we want to name that person with the name of a virus. I don't think that is what we want. Why are you running so fast? It is also reported that the foot and mouth disease virus has been accidentally released 13 times in Europe. Accidentally released 13 times in Europe by companies that were producing vaccines between 1960 and 1993, and it's caused outbreaks. So it is not as if it doesn't happen. It does happen, and it is reported and that these do happen. In 1967, there was an outbreak in West Germany. And what had happened was that somebody was working on African green monkeys using their tissues for research. And this is what ended it. In Germany, total of 31 people, laboratory workers and their contacts became sick, and 7 of them passed. So these are not things that are just walking around, but they are things that are with us, and they are happening in research laboratories like ours. And this is 1967. Then we also have a situation of an Ebola virus infection. This happened in 1977. And a researcher working accidentally infected himself. So was working on blood from a hemorrhagic fever patient, and he accidentally infected himself and finally got infected with Ebola. Yes, he lived, but that is what happened at that time. Then we have this situation, and I think this one is an interesting one. I read this and I was wondering where they published it, and it's in the Hansard, which is a parliamentary document. And it was because something had happened and a parliamentary committee was set up to investigate it. And what had happened was that somebody got sick, a laboratory worker, and was admitted. And after a week, some people visited him, and later they realized that it was a smallpox infection that he had acquired from the lab after 12 days. In the report of the committee, they drew attention to the inadequacy of safety precautions at the London School of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene. This is that situation where in Ghana we know that we have a very vibrant parliament. If anything should happen, we would not want a situation where our director, Professor Boni, who is chair of committees on safety, will have to go and answer questions and end up with one of our parliamentarians writing that we have inadequacy safety procedures in the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. Anytime we mention the London School of Medicine and Tropical Hygiene, I know most of us would love to go to that place and see what they do there. But this is written of them a very long time ago, in 1974. This is not what we want to hear one day, 25 years down the line. Somebody's reading and go like, oh, Noguchi, 25 years down the line, they didn't have safety precautions and blah, 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 those things. So let us take the things that we tried doing here seriously. Then recently, when the COVID broke out, and they're talking about COVID and whether it came from a lab or not, the New York Times published that once, some time ago, in the 70s, anthrax leaked from a Russian lab. So can you imagine? Something has happened now. We are thinking about COVID. They did leak from a lab. We are investigating. And what people remember, or what the literature is telling them that, oh, sometimes labs leak some of these things. And those are the things that we have to really try to guard against. Let's come to the recent past. This is just in 2003. And there was a situation in Singapore of a laboratory accident where they said a student was working in the lab on West Nile virus samples in a BSL-3 lab and got sick with SARS. So this is a student who is working on West Nile virus samples and got sick with SARS. And when they investigated, they found out that although no SARS work was being done on the day, live SARS was definitely in the lab 2 days earlier. So somebody has worked on SARS 2 days earlier. So this person goes into the lab to work on something that is not as infectious as SARS, but then ends up getting SARS because the person who worked 2 days earlier may have made mistakes. And this is some of the things that we have to really be cautious against. The decontamination after work, making sure the pressures are right, making sure the safety cabinets are working. These are things that happen. So I'm wondering, if I was this student, I'll call the gods of my land to help me solve this problem, because I didn't do it. Quick. Then another big name, and these are in literature. Another very big name, and it's a very, very big name. CDC in Atlanta. 76 researchers working in this got infected because anthrax leaked somewhere. These are in the literature. So these are things that are happening every time around us, and we have to be very cautious with what we do in the lab. And I think I want to, end with this situation here where a lab worker contracts COVID-19 and is good enough to sue, to follow through the process, and it ends up with the Taiwan Science Academy being fined for biosafety lapses. So now it goes even into people getting serious enough to take you to court and say that for one reason or another, I got infected. And this is something that happened pretty recently I think it happened in 2021, when during the high time of the COVID. I just wanted to raise these with us, just so that as much as we try to keep ourselves safe, we also think about the environment in which we work. And not just the immediate, but the name for which we work. The name of the institute that brings us so much. Recently, and we learn with time, that our funders, our support, our governments have now gotten very serious about the little things we do when it comes to safety. I think a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Susan Edu-Amankwa and Professor Kuram called the safety office and were asking questions because the funders that they work with and the IBC that they have to report to are asking questions. And after answering the questions, they ask them to bring pictures, right? To bring pictures, to show that the things you're saying are there. Luckily, yes, we do have those things so we can show pictures of them. Can you imagine if after working for these people for this time, they're asking for reports and your reports cannot come because you didn't put some measures in place, and then you get that email that says, unfortunately, our funders have decided that we won't help you anymore. We don't want to be associated with you. So I would say that for now and forever, whilst we are here, let us try to protect that good name that a lot of people have worked for. And with the changing scope, with the changing phases of quality, changing phases of safety, changing phases of risk assessment, of evidence-based decision making, we have to move with it. It would be unfortunate if, for one reason or another, there's an argument between a researcher and a safety office just because your work cannot go on and I'm saying this or saying that. Let us all try to think together and learn from what has happened in the past, hours, and the ones that I have shown you, and work on and on towards having that system that even if something goes wrong, we will be able to show the trend that as for this one, it is the devil. It is not us. So I'll say thank you, and I'll give it back to the MC. And for all those who will compete in the various things that are going to happen, I think there will be spotted there's something here, and then it will continue. I say thank you and all the best. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Kwe. There's this saying that you can't be too safe, but I believe that at least if you can't be overall safe, you can be safe enough. So you can be safe enough to culture a bacteria or a protozoan parasite in the lab. You can be safe enough to pour a flammable chemical in a fume chamber. Thank you very much, Dr. Kwe. A warm hand, please. Once. All right, so next on our list, I'd like to invite Mr. Nathaniel Boateng to join me here, please. Well, it's not. All right, so we'll be spotting the safety violation. That will be our next item on our list. A minute, please. All right, so sorry for that. While we wait on the technical team, please, do we have any questions on the presentation that was just had? Any questions?
Okay. So at the management meeting, I think the decision was made that every new protocol should have a risk assessment. Is that risk assessment document or form or whatever it is ready for people to start using? When can we have the road that? Maybe you can repeat the question.
All right. So for those who did not hear, he's management, so he talks management. So he just mentioned that at the management meeting there was a decision, and it was a request, not a request, but something of the requirements that we asked of management, that every new process, every new project would have to undergo a risk assessment before it is yes, I think to STC. Yes. So what is happening? And the form is not ready. So a form will be developed for every new project, so that before your project goes to STC, for STC to approve of the signs, they will also take a look at the safety side of it before you get your final approval for it to go to IRB. So that is what he mentioned. I think that is best practice. I think in the NID Japan, they have a committee that does just that on the safety side. And we have the STC looking at our signs. So it'd be good that it's attached to it. And then we can have some of the fellows on STC who have the safety thinking to look at it. So that is what is going to happen. My people are not here. Somebody should note it down for me so that we do this as quickly as possible. All right. Any other question or contribution?
All right, with no further questions, the next will be spot the safety violation. So we'll take this video and let's pay attention to everything within the video. Wow. Can we take it again? Right. So take note. Take note of the particular parts where the violation happened. Okay. Okay. So let's pause. All right. So so what will be the first violation? I mean, up until this point, the video. Up until this point of the video, what the first violation you see?
The first violation I see is the samples were not properly packaged, in the sense that since it should be there should be a triple packaging for the sample, where you have the first packaging with a label, and then you put into a secondary packaging where you have an absorbent in the secondary packaging to absorb any leakage. And then it should be in the tertiary package, which is a box with all needed labels attached to it. And it should have a transport form to attach to it. Yeah.
Wow. A hand, please. Yes. The next one. Oh, she has said everything. Can we continue? Okay, let's proceed. All right, so let's pause. Pause.
So the contribution that she made, can we also find out whether it would be good for the person going to collect the sample from the gate to have some gloves on? Should we have that? Let's discuss. Should we have that? The samples were not packaged well, that's fine. But the person collecting the sample from the person who brought it, should the person also be wearing gloves? So please, we don't want you to be harming. If you want to say something, raise your hand and you talk. Okay.
So ideally, you have to go in with the box or the tertiary container. So with that one, you don't need gloves. Yeah, so if the person is going with a tertiary container, the one in the lab wouldn't have to come out with a glove.
So the one who went for it shouldn't have gone to hold that plastic wallet. It should go with a proper cool box, so that you take it with it and go with it. So that is what we have to note. Okay, thank you.
Add that probably the person didn't know that this is how the samples had been packaged, so she went like that. But in situations like this, when you see that way, you don't have to pick it. Just go back and get the vaccine container or cool box or whichever it is, whatever it is, and come and pick your sample. So that's, and then in cases where probably the person didn't pick it from the security, maybe you are transporting it from one lab to the other. In that case, you don't have to also carry it like the way you did. You have a container in your lab, you can properly package it and then send it to the next lab the right way. Yeah.
I also think for safety reasons, these samples are coming from outside. You don't know how it has been handled. So as the receiver, when you are going, you can go with ethanol and maybe some tissue and gloves, so that when you go out there and you see the situation, it's either you spray the container or the box clean, so you are sure that everything is clean before you even, if you have to touch with bare hand or even with gloves, you go ahead and do that. That can also help, because I think that's what we were practicing during the COVID time. Whatever comes in, spray it and make sure that it's clean before you even bring it in. Thank you.
Yes, I also believe that the state of the box that you'd be sending from the lab to the point where you are receiving the sample is key. You are not just going with any box, but a clean box, a box that you can hold with your bare hands. Because when you place the box down at the entrance to the lab, you will use your hand to open the door. And so the outer part of the box must be clean. So we should also check how we save those boxes in the lab to, help with their cleanliness.
Okay, so I think we can continue. Pause. Wow. Any safety violation? Plain, plenty.
Okay, so I also noticed that on the corridor, the lab personnel was in a lab coat. So whatever contamination from the lab, you expose it to Dr. Boni's office, who is there, and then so that is one violation that I seen on the corridor.
Okay, I think there's someone behind you.
I also observed that the lady received the samples without a lab and without a gloves.
I also noticed a loaded electrical socket at the corner. Yeah, I saw it in the video.
Okay, I think there's one. Yeah.
Okay, from the video, I don't know whether, because where I saw the lady went into, I don't know whether she went into the lab, by the cold room, but in the first place, she opened the bag and checked the samples outside. I don't think it was appropriate. And then when she entered to those 3 samples she picked, she placed them on the liquid nitrogen tank.
Yeah.
It was also not good. So I think that in that case, she could have gone back to the lab, get a rack, and then go into the cold room, arrange it nicely, however she has to do it, before storing the samples as she's supposed to do. Thank you.
So from the samples that she took from the gate, Dr. Quay was talking about risk assessment. So even before you accept those samples, it comes with an investigation form. If it's from a courier service person, he doesn't know. So when you look at the investigation form, it will tell you the type or the kind of samples they are. And that will inform you how you are going to handle it. So all that has to be known from the point that you are picking the sample before you carry the samples to the lab. So that will inform the decisions you will take in keeping the samples or storing the samples and all that. So that is also very important. The lady shouldn't come out of the lab with the coat. That's why it's called the lab coat. It should be inside the lab. You shouldn't open the samples outside of the lab. You take it in. open it in a biosafety cabinet because you don't know what it is. And when you're opening it, you have to make sure that you have done the PPE fully. And you don't have to take chances. So we can spot so many of these lapses in the video that we watch. But it is not just a video, it's for us to note that we don't have to be repeating these things in the lab. Thank you.
All right.
I think when Prof. Bonnie said that open it in a biosafety cabinet, he means that the cabinet should be in operation. The cabinet should be working. Don't just go and open the cabinet. The cabinet should be working before you open the samples. I think that's what he meant anyway.
I think we can continue. All right, stop. Let's pause. Are there any violations?
I realized that for the overloaded socket, they were also charging their phones in the lab right next to the heat block. So that's another one.
Did you get here that the overloaded socket that we saw there? You see that they were charging their phones in the lab. So if the socket overloading is not even violating enough, they were doing it in the lab. So we want to stop that. We want to discourage you from taking your phones to the lab. So please, let's note that's what he said. And I think it's a very, very important point. Don't take your phones to the lab. So why? Who can answer that question? Who can answer why? Who can answer? Okay.
So you can contaminate your phone and then send it outside to your children or wherever. Yes, but I think that if we don't want people to take their phones to the lab, we should provide clocks in the labs, because when you enter, you have to log in the time you entered, the time you exited, and all those things. So we should have clocks in the lab so we can enforce that people should not bring their phones to the lab. I also saw in the video that the lady removed her gloves and put it in the non-infectious bin, which was also wrong. But I realized that sometimes we may don in or put on gloves and we think we've not used it on any infectious sample, so we can drop it in that non-infectious bin. But we should also know that once it's a glove, whether you've used it or not, anybody who sees it thinks you've used it on an infectious sample. So you always have to make sure that you drop it in the infectious waste bin.
The sequence of removal. We have gone through this so many times. Which one goes off first? You are wearing a lab coat. You are wearing gloves. You are finished working. You are taking them off. Which one goes off first? So we saw how she did it. Okay. Any more?
I also noticed that one of the cables was arranged across the heat block. The heat block is a heating element, and so could destroy the insulation of the wire. It's in there, and it's in the video. So the, it's an electrical hazard.
Yeah, let's continue. All right.
The fire extinguisher, you saw it on the floor.
Pause it. Pause it. I'm thinking this is the very interesting part. I mean, if I don't care what's a person, this is a classic example. Any safety violation?
So one of the safety rules is that we do not eat in the lab. And I saw cook and no food taken to the lab, and you don't also eat there. You don't take food at all in the lab. But I saw cook with a drink, and looking at even the level, it indicates that the person has taken it while working. You know, the danger is that you expose yourself to. You can easily be exposed to pathogens. So that's a violation.
Prof, maybe it's the food safety lab.
Yeah, so those of us in the ARL, those at the top, when the ARL was being commissioned, they told us that there's an imaginary line. When you climb the stairs, if you are not going to where the officers are, and you are going to where the labs are, just before the very first lab for bacteriology, you don't have to even cross that line with water. But you go to where they sit and you see that you have bottled water containers there. And those downstairs, immunology, you don't have to pass the RA's office with water, let alone food. I'm not even mentioning food, though. I'm talking about water. So when you have water in your bag, you don't cross that line. Leave the water in the RA's office, or if you're up there, they have the sitting area there. Leave it there before you cross to where the labs are. For those in the main labs here, you don't take any water or any food item into the lab. Or you don't even think, this one it was staged. I don't think that anybody here will go and put Coke in. Nobody will do that. Nobody will do that. This one was staged, but nobody will do that. Nobody will do that. Okay, thank you very much. Can we continue?
Yes, I want to add that I saw a black bin liner in the lab. So in the lab, we should use yellow, not the black. Black is for the general waste.
So this one too is very clear. And this one, Dr. Kwe has been championing it for a very long time. Waste management. We have different colored waste bags. The black is for non-infectious waste. And we don't even have to have them in the lab. That's the first thing. We don't have to have them in the lab. Because in the lab area, we are not supposed to be having non-infectious waste. We have infectious waste. He said even the glove, if it has not been used, we don't want to put that glove in a black bag. No. So let's note, the lab reps should ensure that. We don't want to encourage. See, they said in one of the labs we have a non-infectious waste bin. We don't want to encourage that. We don't want you to take a non-infectious waste bin into the lab. We don't eat in the lab. So why are you taking that one there for? Some people are saying that they do some administrative work there. We don't want to see people who make the mistake and put waste in it. So we don't want to take it there. Unless we learn to make sure that we decipher between those bins.
And please, I think in the lab there are non-infectious waste bins to separate the waste that is autoclaved from waste that is not autoclaved. But then when you go to the waste area down there, you put both infectious and non-infectious in the yellow liner for lab waste. So that's why we use the non-infectious.
Which of the waste do you autoclave from the lab? She's saying that in the lab we have waste that we autoclave and the one that we don't autoclave. So which of the waste do you generate in the lab that you autoclave? Infectious. Then which one don't you autoclave? Example. You see, because we have a very fine line between the generated waste that we have in the lab that we will call non-infectious and infectious. We don't want to take chances. So we are not even going to take those black bag lining waste bins there. No. All the waste that we generate in the lab should be seen as infectious waste. As simple as that. All the waste we generate in the lab should be seen as infectious waste. Okay, so let's take this one from here today. Thank you.
Prof, I have this question. It's rather controversial. So if I'm chewing a gum and
don't even start because you don't have to take a gum.
No, not in the lab. I said if I'm chewing a gum.
Okay.
So I'm chewing a gum and I enter the lab.
Don't start. Don't continue. This one, don't even continue. Okay. We are not. Nobody should chew. The last time I saw a lady chewing a lab in the area that I just saw chewing a gum. So I gave her two options: either she swallows the gum, or she walk off that area. You don't have to take gum to the lab area. No, we don't do that. If you don't know, please know it today. Don't chew gum and go to the lab area with it. If you see us, you either swallow the gum or you just move away from that place. Yes, Harry.
The ARL is privileged to have labs in one area or one section of it. And the RA's office and the administrative offices in another area. However, the main building doesn't have that kind of design. Does it pose some safety threats to the workers in terms of transporting food and editing?
But hold on. The area we have rooms that are labs and we have offices, isn't it? That's the main building.
The arrangement is you can have an office, a lab.
Yes. So that one is understood. So if you are entering a lab, don't chew a gum in there. If you are entering a lab, don't take water in there. If you are entering a lab, don't take food there. If you are entering an office, it's different. So even though we don't have areas that are labs and areas that are offices, we have labs, rooms, offices. They are there. So if you know that you are entering a lab, most of the labs, they have this biohazard symbol on the doors. And you know that they are labs. Okay?
And then secondly,
don't allow this man to talk. Okay.
When it comes to the wearing of lab coats on corridors,
Right.
and that is contextualized.
In what sense?
No, I'm trying.
Allow him to finish.
You see, just on Friday, I assisted particularly with moving terminal from uh, upstairs, I think the first floor, outside, and I was wearing my lab coat.
What lab coat were you wearing? What lab coat were you wearing? Is it the single used one? This isolation gown, the blue, the green one, or the white?
Say the rules as in this is how is it to be. So whichever area you have to determine these things before you set the rules. But to meet somebody on a corridor wearing a lab coat, whilst it is not for a process, for something that maybe cleaning the labs, so you're bringing things out and going back in, then that is it. But for work itself, you're not to move with lab coats from one lab to another.
So thank you, Dr. Quick, because I was going to follow up. Because we have fridges and freezers outside of labs. Because we have fridges and freezers outside of labs in the main building. And I won't be at risk wearing mine, without the lab coats,
Going to take items from.
Yes, that's why I really want the contextualization. You shouldn't wear lab coats. Absolutely. Dr. Free, you are saying quarters.
I said that's why I said he knows what he's asking. Do we have any other question before we can move on? I thought I ruled out your question.
So this is a follow-up. So we, those in the main building, we have labs and offices at the same time. So maybe you enter a lab, a portion of it is being designated as an office, and then
In the same room.
the same room. That is the reality. I mean, that is what is happening. You have lab and office at the same time. So with this, are we to demarcate and then do office things at where we've demarcated as an office? Your place. Yes.
That is not part of the risk that we have ever thought about. Video, no?
All right. Oh. Any violation? Okay. Abana.
The first violation I saw was open-toe shoes in the lab. And then we see that most of our ladies have been wearing open-toe shoes all the time. And people even wear it to the lab sometimes. I get people and I try to sack them from the lab. So the first violation I saw that I've noted is the open-toe shoes, which we said it is not allowed to wear in the lab. The second is the girl wasn't wearing lab coats and she was working. So those are my Pardon? All right, so thank you. Those are the things.
Even doing something that you need to wear, you can wear on one hand and use one to open it. Don't use gloves to either touch your screen, the computer screen, either the desktop, or to open doors. It is not done. Okay, I think that's about it. Do you have any other? Oh.
Oh, I was asking whether they saw the watch.
Or said they saw, maybe the lady wanted to see that he's got a very nice wristwatch. So that's why she was not wearing a lab coat. Yeah. Any other? So
There are a few others.
I saw gloves in the fridge. I don't know if it was supposed to be in there.
Yeah, so he said she saw gloves in the fridge. You see, sometimes to a very lazy way of when they bring you sample, instead of you to get in a box, storage box to keep the samples in, they put them in gloves and they leave the gloves. See that somebody is shaking it. That's what she has been doing. They put the samples in the gloves and they keep the gloves in the fridge. Oh, okay, I'll come back to it. It's a very bad practice. So let's stop.
The waste bin wasn't lined with autoclave bag. And then the one outside, it wasn't labeled to like infectious waste bin. So
it was truthful. The small bin that was in the it was no that was
Yes.
yeah, so there was food in the fridge. Oh, there was food in the fridge. Okay, any more? Thank you very much, Nis. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, a round of applause for yourself. All right, so next on our list, this is actually the interesting part of today's seminar. So the first time I heard this, I asked the safety team how safe we were to do this. So this is a relay course and a safety challenge. Unfortunately, it's not literal. We'll not be racing here. And first, that's what I thought it was. But we'll be going downstairs. But to do this, we want to invite the reps for each department. I think we have quality rep for each department.
Are they coming forward here?
Yes, they'll be coming forward here.
So please come and let's do it quickly. All the reps, please.
So all the reps from the various department. Oh, a warm hand, please. Go para. Okay.
Yeah, so well, who are give me scoring?
Rose Chung from Animal Department. From Animal Experimentation Department. From Animal Experimentation Department.
Then you know that animal experimentation.
Before you someone animal experimentation.
All right.
Edupoku Francis, animal experimentation.
Lois Frimpong, bacteriology. Lois Frimpong, bacteriology.
Godfred Sechi, bacteriology. Joseph, nutrition.
Oh, give them some morale. Give them some morale.
Wilberforce Sapon, bacteriology.
Joseph Adam Gaze, EMNH.
Asindo Amos, EMNH.
Abigail Enin, clinical pathology.
Janet Abnampo for clinical pathology.
Nanaya, clinical pathology.
Amokosua, virology.
Stephen Yakon, virology. Jonathan Kluse, virology.
Brian Samuel, epidemiology.
Nelia Mankrayeboa, epidemiology.
Esther Becky, epidemiology.
Anita Kweku, epidemiology.
Very much to and please shout.